Guys, first of all, thank you. Thank you for joining us at the saasguru live webinar event. For those of you that are joining us again and you've joined previous sessions, the format would be very similar. We'll walk through a little bit about saasguru, what we do as a business, why we exist in the first place, and then we'll jump straight into the agenda today, which is understanding perhaps what a recession is. And I'll spend 4 or 5 minutes on it just to give you guys a sense of what's coming. And then we will go into perhaps what are some of the skills and traits that would be useful for people to secure and perhaps even land a new Salesforce job in an environment when we're going through recession. A little bit about saasguru, a little bit about the agenda first. Like I said, I probably won't even take 5 minutes on saasguru. A lot of you probably already know about what saasguru is. We will touch base a little bit on recession. Personally, I really understood the depth of it maybe about 6-7 years ago. Until that point, it was a word. It was something that happens, and that's really, really bad for all of us that work. But it's important to understand what leads up to it. And perhaps for those of you that may not have that background or an understanding, it will help translate some of the events that are happening right now and when recession might lead. And if it was to eventuate, what it means to getting a new job. But lion's share of our time, we'll spend a lot on skills and traits. Now, a lot of this is personal experience going back in the 2008s and the 10s of recession when Australia went through it. A lot of this is also from experience of running a consulting business. So I'll give you guys a broad stroke thought on skills and traits, but then we'll hone in on perhaps the top 4 and 5 that I really think a lot of the people, a lot of the consultants, particularly as I've worked in the Salesforce ecosystem a lot, particularly in the Salesforce ecosystem, perhaps lack. And acquiring those skills and traits would really set you up for success. A little bit about me. I'm one of the co-founders of saasguru. Past 20 years doing tech in all formats, from old days of infrastructure management to delivering large-scale transformation programs of work for Salesforce, to now working in a training and enablement environment where our real mission is to enable as many people on the Salesforce ecosystem or perhaps SaaS technologies across the world. I run a couple of non-for-profits that I founded. One's called Investor Matrix, the other one's called Anonymous Angels. Both of them are targeted towards enabling others, either enabling youth in the Investor Matrix concept, enabling youth to understand the world of finance, to understand the world of investments. So that whole concept of 9-to-5 jobs doesn't exist. How can they build wealth and start early, perhaps at the age of 18 and on? And Anonymous Angels works purely in the Asia region while helping some of the people that go through a lot of the hurricanes and floods across the globe. For those of you that want to continue to connect with me afterwards, there was a question from, I am on the saasguru community, so if you do want to reach out and perhaps have a one-on-one and discuss ways to acquire some of these skills that I'll talk about today, by all means, I'm there on the community. Just ping me, we'll set up a call. More than happy to walk you guys through it. I'm also on LinkedIn, so find me. More than happy to connect with you guys there and give you some tips and tricks on LinkedIn, perhaps for profiles and personas, some of which we'll cover today. My email address is there as well, in case you guys want to connect. Let me jump straight into it. So you guys would have heard a lot about saasguru, what we do as a business in terms of certification prep, in terms of training and enablement of Salesforce, in particular, in terms of getting people hands-on experience of Salesforce. But what I wanted to do today is not just focus on that, but give you guys a couple of key aspects of our business. Our vision as a business is to be the world's most loved SaaS community. It is not about a X number of dollars we want to earn, X number of people we should have and certification we have. We want to be a community. Community by definition is a family. A sense of belonging where people can come in, contribute. It's not us providing a service to another, but everybody providing each other support for the one outcome, which is about getting their dream jobs or dreams in general fulfilled. Our mission is to help millions and millions of people discover and grow their careers in SaaS technologies. We focus very deeply in Salesforce, but we do provide services on AWS, ServiceNow, and some of the other techs. But it's all enabled by our global community, which, as I said, is our key focus, and our platform, which enables all the cert preps and the training. Our values as a business, very simple. We put our learners at the heart of everything that we do. They are the heart and soul of our business. The reason we have it is to enable those learners. So at any point you feel that you're not getting that aspect from our business or getting that level of value from our business, I want you to reach out to me. I want you to reach out to me in the community and give me that view. Why is that happening? Everybody has that same agenda in our business. Innovation is at the heart of everything. Things that we don't need to do manually, we don't do manually. Things where technology can support, it supports. But at the end of the day, it's not just about the tech that we use, but it is about how we use that tech to enable training and enable Salesforce skills for our learners. Execution and humility are two of our key other values, where we genuinely say what we do and we do what we say. We are very passionate about what we do. This isn't a work and I switch off from work and then I have a life. This is it. Work life is kind of intertwined, not just for me, but the entire SaaSfocus or saasguru community. There are three things about saasguru that I'll tell you very quickly outside of this. One is we provide cert prep. It is a really, really smart technology-based platform where you get to learn different aspects of cert prep. You have tailored content that is based on the certification modules that are provided by the different technologies. It is gamified. It is AI-led, basically tells you when you're ready to take your actual certification, and it's up to date. So a lot of the things that you see incorporate already that perhaps are the type of questions that you, or the theme of the type of questions that you will get to answer in the actual exams when you sit for Salesforce certification or AWS. We do offer a bootcamp program, which is very intense 14-week training program specifically for Salesforce. We cover admin, PD1, app builder. We cover 2 capstone projects. We have with tons of hands-on. In fact, we call it hands-on overload in some of the bootcamps that we're starting from January. We do give time for certifications. We provide platform for the certification itself. So there is a significant amount of work that has gone into building this bootcamp. And proudly, I can say that our Net Promoter Score or our customer satisfaction scores are above 80, which is world-class. That's the best you can get. It's the range that we currently sit in based on all the reviews we've had. So really, really useful for people that are starting their Salesforce journey, and perhaps even more useful for people who are already in that journey but want some hands-on experience. So the way we've designed this bootcamp is modularized. You can break it. You can simply just join the hands-on exercises, the capstone projects to gain some hands-on experience, or you can join the whole thing end-to-end, whatever suits you guys. The link for our saasguru community is already in the chat. Join the chat, join our platform. There are tons of these live classes and webinars that we run on a weekly basis. Join whichever ones you find valuable. We run everything from flows to how to secure your job, to best practices, to development skills, to a number of things. So, and they're all free. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to be part of the platform, which is also free. So you can join the live classes at any point. Use our Slack community to get support. And if you have any questions, we're all there. There are dedicated people supporting those, both the platform as well as the community. Lastly, we have a mobile app. So those of you that are on the go, we heard you. You guys asked for a mobile app, particularly because about 60% of our users were using it on mobiles. So we launched our mobile app a couple of months ago. If you guys need access to on-the-go learning, on-the-go training, just download the app. Again, it's free. If you've already got access to a course on web, it's enabled on the web. You don't have to do anything different. Simply have to download the app and start working. All right, enough about saasguru. I did say I was going to take 5 minutes, and I think I have taken 6. So I will not do that again. Now, the next 2 things, what we will focus on is recession and what are some of the impacts that we can expect in a recession. This is widely agreed, nothing that I'm going to create. This is just what recession is. It's a significant and persistent decline in economic activity. So economic activity decline happens quite regularly. It's not something that only happens in a recession. It happens quite often. In fact, it changes from month to month, depending on how the countries are going. And if there's a war, all of a sudden things change. However, if it is persistent and it happens at a consecutive quarters after quarters in a specific country, then it is considered a recession. And a prolonged recession, if it's going on for months and years and it's long lasting, then it's called a depression. So those 2 terms you might have heard interchangeably, but it is kind of, but a depression is particularly a deep and long lasting recession, but varying definitions you'll hear. Now, what are the 3 key things when you look at a recession? It has to have a negative GDP. It does have a negative GDP, and it not just a negative GDP, but it's a consecutive quarter-on-quarter negative GDP. There is a rise in unemployment. The recession itself can last up to 2 years, but the halo effect of the recession, and by halo effect, I mean the impact of the recession on people, can last up to 5 years. So recession in itself, just the period of recession is perhaps not the only impact that us as people would see. The impact of recession can be seen years after. The predictions for 2023 to 2024 is that there's a 98% chance of a global recession, either late 2023 or early 2024. Now, in that recession, their expectation is that unemployment will exceed 10%. In most cases, at least I'm talking from Australia perspective, we used to sit at about 2-3%. If it exceeds 10%, it's basically saying 10% of the workforce or the able workforce is going to be unemployed. Rapid rate hikes will follow rapid rate declines. So leading up to and into the recession, the interest rate hikes is very common trait of a recession. But as a recession starts and we go deep into the recession, the interest rates start to decline. Now, the reason I'm giving you guys this lens, or perhaps the thought of this live class came about, is I was last week, the week before, I was at Macquarie University, and we were just talking about recession in general in a group. And one of the things that stood out was the lack of understanding of perhaps a recession and the impact of that to jobs. And just saying that there will be less jobs is not really understanding why that happens. And there are things that you could potentially do. So some of the things we'll talk about in skills and trades are also from a panel of people that thought was a very useful thing for people to know. The problem with the recession and unemployment is often remains high well into the economic recovery. So like I said, it's not just a 2-year period. On an ongoing basis, you'll see an impact of recession. The problem you would see right now, and it's happening around us as we speak, that interest rates have been going up on a month-on-month basis. Every month in Australia, interest rates are going up. Every month in the US, the interest rates are going up. What that means is all of a sudden people have to start paying more to stay where they are. So if they've got a mortgage, they're paying more. If they're renting, then the rents are going up because whoever owns the property, they're putting up the prices. In that sense, all of a sudden, the disposable income, and it's basically the amount of money you have to spend outside of your day-to-day expenses, the disposable income starts to reduce for every family, for every person. When you're not having that extra money, you're not spending it in shoppings, in shopping centers, movies, or food, or anything else. That starts impacting the everyday businesses. When everyday businesses start getting impacted, they stop hiring or perhaps even let people go because there's no business. So there is a vicious impact of everything that happens in a recession or leading up to a recession. And I've just given you an example of interest rate rises. So a lot more if interest rates are going up, that's only one part of the equation. Cost of goods starts to go up because people have to make up the cost. People can't afford the food that they could afford earlier. So that starts to have a spiraling effect of food not being enough, food not being consumed by the same quantities, therefore production slows down. So now the big machineries that would otherwise hire people are also letting people go. Hence the unemployment rate that goes up. I guess the rising interest rates is just one indicator that you can see. And all of this is coming from, at the moment, at least in our environment, all of this is coming from 2-3 different angles. We're just coming out of COVID, so we're still trying to recover from all the extra money that governments printed or loans that they got. And then we have a war that's going in Russia and in Ukraine, which also has an impact on multiple things, including cost of oil and so on and so forth. So we kind of have a double whammy at the moment in terms of an accelerant that is pushing us towards a recession. Hence, all the predictions sitting at about 98%. Now, recession in itself knowing it is one aspect, but let's just talk about some of the key skills and traits that I think will be really, really useful for most people to acquire them and start working on them. By all accounts, that recession is not hitting us until end of 2023. So we have a good runway, 10, 12 months to really acquire some of these skills and start standing out in front of employers rather than wait when things go bad. I'll cover some of the skills broadly, and then we'll hone in into some of these specific skills that I think are even more important. The top 6, in my mind, the very first one that you will hear me talk about the most is know the art. It's your ability to understand the industry that you're working with. It's your ability to have a good grasp of the technology that you're working with, in this case, Salesforce that we're talking about. And your ability to translate all of that technology-based learning into the industry that you want to work in. Now, a lot of you are already working somewhere, I suspect. If you're already working somewhere, it is already a business and it's already an industry. What I would suggest you start thinking about is, how do you take that industry, what you know about it, and enhance that learning? And is there a role of technology in that industry itself that you can start formulating? You might only have 4 or 5 different point of views for specific parts of the value chain of your business, but it is better than not having one at all. So the very first skill and a skill to acquire is really becoming hands-on, both with the technology and the industry that you're either looking to become part of or are already part of. The second thing I would highlight is certifications. Gone are the days when admin certification was enough, and that, frankly speaking, 2 years ago, maybe even 2.5 years ago, was enough, when people just had admins and looking for jobs in just the administration parts. Nowadays, that's already changed. Most organizations, and we see this day in, day out, part of what we do at saasguru is place people in organizations. And when we see that, we know what the asks are. Most of the asks are around multiple certifications. So admin PD1 app builder, for example, in Salesforce, just bare bones. You have to do them, you have to know them. But don't just stop there. You have to start thinking from that point onwards in terms of specifics and niche clouds of Salesforce. There are so many of the niche clouds that if you are already thinking about an industry based on my point number 1, then you should also look at an aligned cloud of Salesforce and get certified and get hands-on with that. So that starts to create a differentiator for you in the marketplace. You're no longer someone that is just doing admin, PD1, and app builder, but you have something very unique that others might not. For example, it could be Industries Cloud. If you're part of a telecommunication business, maybe you're a service agent working for a telco, maybe you're a contact center person working for a telecommunications company. There are solutions on Salesforce that called Velocity that basically enables Salesforce solutions for telcos. If you're part of a media business, maybe you work for Channel 9, Channel 10, regardless of what you do for them, there are solutions on Salesforce called Media Cloud for that. Maybe you're part of a banking industry and you're a contact center person working in a banking industry. There are solutions on Salesforce called Financial Services Cloud for it. Point being, find that cloud. Chances are for most industries, from non-for-profit, from real estate, from financial services, from insurance, there are solutions on Salesforce for it. Specialize in it. That would stand you apart from the crowd. And outside of Salesforce, focus on non-tech skills. And what I mean by non-tech skills is not just do Salesforce certifications, but do things like business analyst, project management certification, just simple Scrum Master certification. Doesn't take a long, it perhaps takes 4 days, over 2 weekends, you'll knock it off, but you'll have a deeper understanding of what it means to be a Scrum Master. And I'll explain why I'm asking you guys to focus on some of this when I talk about point number 3 in a minute. And then, so project manager, business analyst, and perhaps even testing, understand how you can perform testing in an environment of project implementation. So you are more aware and perhaps capable of doing some of those tasks. My recommendation number 3 is be an all-rounder. Now, think in the context of recession hitting us, right? What's happening in a recession? People are being let go. But who's being hired? Those that can do multiple things at the same time for the same price of same salary are the people being hired. And it's not okay for organizations generally to do that, but they are doing it in an environment, in a recession type environment, because they don't have a choice. There is no money coming in. They're trying to save money. So becoming an all-rounder, someone that can be an advisor, someone who can elicit what requirements the business might have, someone that can design the solution, someone that can deliver that solution end to end, becomes an absolute integral part of that business. What's even more important, and once you land a job in a business like that and they see that you're an all-rounder, you have a job for life. They will never let you go, and they will look after you in all ways possible, assuming you're happy to stay. But becoming an all-rounder becomes really, really important, and acquiring those skills comes from my point number 2, where you have to learn project management, business analyst, testing. These are not hard skills. I promise you, people have done those skills within weekends. These are very easy skills to acquire, but really relevant skills to acquire when you think about yourself as an all-rounder. The next recommendation is building a brand. Building a brand is perhaps, whilst I'm saying it is point number 4, is perhaps one of the most important things, goes hand in hand with everything I've just said. Nobody will come looking for you in an environment like a recession. You have to make yourself known, and people should be able to find you in a heartbeat like this, not troll through 50,000 resumes, but go, this is the person I want. For that, you have to be very, very active in social channels, in places like LinkedIn in particular, Trailhead community, write different blogs, and have a point of view. Amount of times I've met people and, really, really sharp and smart folks, but really perhaps uncertain of their own confidence, and therefore not having a point of view. I cannot tell you how many times I've come across folks like this. And my only advice and my only coaching to them has always been about, have a point of view. Doesn't matter if it's wrong. You will have wrong point of views. You will have a mistake. You will make mistakes, but it doesn't change the fact that you should have a point of view. That comes with practice. That comes with knowing the art. That comes with being an all-rounder. You will be able to come up with a point of view and share it on LinkedIn posts or blogs, and perhaps be more publicly aware of your brand than not. And the one thing I say about brand is you might do 10 things right and you might do 1 thing wrong. So be very conscious about your wrong things, because the wrong thing that you do while building a brand causes brand damage more than the 10 things collectively would have given you boost. So what I mean by wrong things, you don't want to like a point of view that you think is perhaps you've just liked it as you're scrolling without even reading what's behind it. I find that perhaps the most annoying thing. Only because when you start reading it, you go, actually, I don't believe in that point of view. But you've just scrolled through it and liked it because that was a friend that you worked with a while back. So just be very conscious about what you like, what you share, Keep it very professional, keep it focused to the work and perhaps the person that you are. The next recommendation is prioritizing everything that you do. Work on outcomes, not work on time, that I've given my business 8 hours and I'm done. If you've achieved nothing in those 8 hours, your 8 hours meant nothing for a business. It's true in an environment even now, and it's always been true for businesses. But in a recession-like environment, if you're somebody that's just wait, most organizations will let those folks go. So what you want to work on is high ticket items, high priority items that result the most ROI for that business. And have these dialogues with your business. There is no harm in asking, if someone's asking you to build something, why are you asking me to build it? What benefit will the business get out of it? What's the ROI of it? It's going to take me 5 days to build it, which is costing business, let's say $500 to build it. Are you going to get $500 worth of benefit? What if it takes you 3 months to build it? Now, all of a sudden, it's $15,000 cost. Is the business going to get that ROI? Your time could be spent better on things where business gets return on their investment. Getting into a state of flow, my favorite. It's taken a long time to practice it, but I do. And once I start explaining it, you guys will hopefully understand what I mean by state of flow. Manage your time. What you focus your time on is the most important part. Hours in a day are going to be the most important. When you think about integrating work-life, that's perhaps my recommendation number 6. Don't think of it as work-life balance. It is no longer about, especially in a recession. In my life, it's true even today. It has been true for 5-6 years now. But in general, that concept or the notion of work-life balance doesn't hold true. You can't now switch off after 9 hours of shift and go, I'm now at home and my time is only for family. You guys are IT folk. You're looking for jobs in IT. We're very blessed. We can work from anywhere in the world. We can work from anywhere. Doesn't have to be sitting in an office in a room. You could be having a Google meeting while you're on a walk. So blend your work life. Try and integrate that work life. And we'll talk a little bit more about this a little bit. But in the context of integrating it, that's where you manage your time well. Multitasking becomes a really good friend of yours. I've always been, going back a few years ago, I used to always say people can't multitask, especially men. I'm sorry, I know there's going to be people here, but we can't multitask. But as I've evolved over the past 6-7 years, all I've seen is when I've blended work and life, I can't multitask on 2 things for work, but I can multitask when it is work and life. When I am with my kids, watching soccer, commenting something on work is okay. Or if I am going on a walk that is for personal health, I can still take a phone call. I don't have a problem with that. I could be on a phone call for an hour while I'm walking. So just find those things and manage your time well. Those are my top 6 recommendations. We will drill down into industry skills and some of the other specifics that I've just talked about. But let's get on with some of the key principles that I talked about. Industry skills. One of the most common questions I get asked is how much of that skill is needed? How long will it take for me to acquire it? And how do I increase my knowledge about any specific industry? So few points. One is there are different levels of an understanding, right? So those of you that might understand this, there is basic level of understanding, there's intermediate level of understanding, there's an advanced level of understanding, there's a mastered level of understanding where you know anything and everything about that industry. You don't need to get to that level. You just need to get to the level where your knowledge of basic industry value chain and who are the key players or who are the key companies in that industry, that you have that understanding. That's good enough. To at least start off with, you should understand the entire value chain, what they do from the time they speak to a customer for the very first time, or a prospect for the very first time, and to the time when that customer leaves their store, what happens in their business. So understanding that value chain doesn't take very long. It's very easy. In most businesses, you would be able to put that in 5 or 6 blocks, understanding that value chain, and then trying to overlay which of the companies are the most important in that industry would be really, really useful. Then understanding the key challenges in that industry. Like Some industries have quality challenges. Some industries have cycle time challenges. I was on a call with a bank called AMP only not yesterday, day before yesterday. I was on hold for 16, 17 minutes before somebody spoke to me. That's their cycle time. That's how long they're keeping a customer on wait before a call happened, and the call only took 3 minutes. So they have a problem with cycle time. Some organizations have problems with cost to income. Their cost is so high and their income is perhaps not doing it justice to the cost they have. It doesn't necessarily mean they should put their rates up. It equally means they should look at their costs and say where it's coming from. The number of challenges that a business can have, your first step into understanding challenges needs to be around those aspects. What are the key challenges? Do they have any compliance challenges, for example, legal challenges that you should know about? Having a good understanding of that will help you as I talk about the next things, which is ability to compare a specific company against other businesses in the same industry. So for example, once I understood what a retail business looks like, let's say in Australia, there's a company called Woolworths. Those of you from Australia would know that. Once I understood what Woolworths or Coles value chain starts to look like, I start to compare that in my previous life going, okay, in the financial services world, what these guys do with XYZ, the financial services world used to do it like this. And they both have very similar problems, and perhaps the technology can solve the problem for both of them. So understanding, once you start understanding the value chain, once you start understanding the challenges that industry faces and who the key players are, you'll be able to compare them with different industries, perhaps industries that you have experience with, which is even more important. Last thing, in your gaining understanding of that industry is understanding how your technology of choice, in this case, Salesforce, can impact the industry positively, right? When you are looking at at yourself and building your own skill, understanding the industry is one part, but the reason you're trying to understand an industry is that you are a Salesforce professional. How do you take that learning and apply it to that industry? So to do that, you need to start looking at what are the solutions, technology solutions that are available on Salesforce that can benefit from that company. These type of things will help you even in interviews. When you understand the technology's integration with a business, when you go for an interview, you can ask some of those questions when you think about, when you think about questions to ask a business. It won't be about, what perks you provide. It doesn't have to be about what's your work-life balance policy. None of that has to be the real questions. You can make it meaningful questions about their business and say, when you're, for example, in the financial services world, when you get an application of, let's say, a mortgage, an application gets assessed by a credit assessor. Now, credit assessors have guidelines, they have automated credit rules, and then they have a decision at the end. Kind of basic 3 steps that they follow. What tools, if I was in the shoes and I had done some of the assessment of technology with industry, I would generally ask, well, what tools do you guys currently use to automate your decision engine? Do you have decisioning rules in an engine today? That kind of starts sparking the thought in an interviewer's mind to go, okay, this person knows about our industry a little bit, not only knows about it, but also understands the intricate technology aspects. If you then had a point of view that said, by the way, on Salesforce, I've seen it solved like this, really, really powerful, really successful, being used in these companies, all of a sudden you are, you're somebody not only that understands the problem, but you're actually solving a problem for them. All of this happening just in an interview. So those 4 points really, really important to at least gain a basic level of understanding or intermediate level of understanding of your industry. Now let's talk about how to increase that industry knowledge. There are some very, very simple things you can do. I'm surprised I get this question asked a lot. I got this question asked at MGSM as well a couple of weeks ago. And very simply, there are case studies after case studies published by Salesforce themselves, by organizations that have used Salesforce, or by Salesforce who have collaborated with those organizations and published them. All you have to do is search. The second thing you can do is find a mentor from that industry. If it's financial services industry, in particular mortgages industry, I'm more than happy to be that mentor. So reach out to me. I'm more than happy to provide support. If it's some other industry that you're looking for, there are tons of people both in the Salesforce community forum and on our community and on LinkedIn. You'll just have to, and reach out to them and ask them to become mentors. Most people I find, if you ask 10 people, 2 or 3 of them would absolutely put their hand up, especially in the Salesforce context where there are MVPs. Read the news. Compliance issues, government issues, regulations perhaps become the most important things that you can solve with Salesforce or any technology for that matter in a business. Having an understanding of that would give you a decent exposure to that industry. You'll start getting an understanding of what are the types of problems these people are solving for. Problems they have, therefore, need to solve for. Some already solving and some you might be able to solve. The fourth thing, very easy, there are courses available for industry-specific courses available. Retail business courses, there are financial services business courses, there are telecommunication business courses. There are accredited courses for most industries. So financial services, for example, particular mortgages or personal loans or deposits, you'll find accredited courses online. There are live classes, webinars happening by those organizations also for free. In some cases paid, but pay them. The idea is to gain knowledge. And those courses, again, all you have to do is Google them. You'll find them. You'll find some of these basic courses even on Udemy. Like they're selling it for $10, $20. It's nothing cost, and it will give you a good understanding of what that industry looks like. The last thing, which is perhaps the most important things, is build a network of SMEs from that industry. Now, you can do a lot of learning from case studies. You can do a lot of learning from news. You can do a lot of learning from courses. But at the end of the day, your mentors and your SMAs are the people that can really translate problems into solutions and give you a lot more deeper understanding of it. So my humble opinion is if you're going to prioritize any of this, you find the right people first. The right people are available on LinkedIn. They're available in different groups. We'll talk about some of the LinkedIn profiles in a minute. And if you use those groups to find the right people, you will be able to get to SMEs and get to mentors. There is one thing I perhaps skipped in this, and I just as I'm talking about it, it clicked. Getting hands-on with Salesforce. We're talking about a lot of the industry aspects, but another question that I get asked a fair bit, which is how do I get hands-on with Salesforce? I've done certifications, but I still lack the understanding of Salesforce. Now, a couple of things you guys can do. One is attend live classes. Outside of saasguru, I'm sure there are things, but on saasguru app itself, there are free live classes. A lot of those live classes are targeted towards tech, towards problems to solve, towards Salesforce hands-on. Use them. They're free. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time. So invest your time, use the live classes as a key aspect of learning some of these things. Second thing you can do is go to courses that offer hands-on experience. There are lots of organizations, including saasguru for that matter, that provide hands-on experience, either both project and just simple hands-on exercises, create objects, create fields, create flows, create triggers. We do all sorts of those things. Join those classes. They're not overly expensive. In fact, they're relatively cheap compared to some of the others I've seen, but they give you a very, very deep understanding of how to use Salesforce. Use that. But there are many options out there. This is not just about saasguru. I'm saying that is one avenue you can definitely use. The third thing you can do is go to Trailhead. Now, that generally would be the first thing to do, and I'm genuinely saying that. But what I find is when you get to super badges, a lot of people kind of struggle with it and they start looking for folks to help them understand the concepts and get hands-on to us, and break it into chunks before they start doing super badges. But Trailhead is your category number 3. Go to Trailhead. You've got tons of super badges to do them. There are tons of project activities that you can do them. They are also free. There is no point leaving out that opportunity that's sitting there for you to become hands-on. So if you kind of balance the hands-on exercises of Salesforce, getting hands-on with that, with the industry knowledge and skills, you are already heads and shoulder above a lot of the people in the industry that's just breaking into the industry. The next big thing is being visible on LinkedIn. Now, personally speaking, I find practically every single person that I've spoken to in the past couple of months that have said they've got a job either through saasguru or otherwise, it's because of their profiles and because of how active they were on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, the very first thing you want to do is showcase your certifications. showcase your dream, showcase your aspiration. If you are someone that's going to be 10x certified in 2023, write it up there. You are 3x certified, 10x by 2023. That's my goal. That's my goal in front of everybody. And then work towards that goal. Throw your badges there. Throw the projects that you've done. Throw the awards that you've received. It doesn't matter if they're non-technology awards. You might have received the best customer service award, the best contact center representative award, the best teller award, whatever it is, whichever industry you come from, throw your awards up there. People need to know that you've been recognized for the work and the ethics that you have in the workplace. The second thing you can do is join groups. Practically every topic you can think of, there is a group on LinkedIn. The benefit of group is that you will be able to connect with decision makers, like-minded people and decision makers. So if you're looking to enter a financial services industry, there will be groups on financial services. If you want to break into a mortgage business that is a non-bank lender, you'll be able to find groups that are just non-bank lenders. If you're looking for someone in traditional investment groups, there will be groups about that. There's tons of groups on LinkedIn. Make use of it, be active on them, post, find the audience that is in those groups, and then connect with them. That's how you find your mentors and your SMEs. The third thing I would say, and I find this very often where people just put bullet points, I worked for saasguru, but don't actually say what they did at saasguru. Now, if you fast forward it for 12 months forward, 18 months forward, and we are in a recession, God forbid, then nobody's hiring you because you worked at saasguru. They're hiring you because of what you've done at saasguru. So don't make it a resume, but detail the highlights and use your keywords in LinkedIn description or job description. Detail what you did, what were your highlights, what were the key skills that you acquired, and use the keywords. Things like if you manage a Scrum team, put that you manage a Scrum team. Scrum itself is a keyword. There will be jobs that they might be looking for Scrum masters. If you wrote requirements, write that you did business analysis, you elicited requirements. Those would be keywords for recruiters to search. So use that section well. Don't just leave it empty. Share updates, point of views. I talked about that a little bit earlier, but be active on LinkedIn. Share what you find valuable. If you found a case study that you think really resonates with you, share it with your point of view, why you liked it. Don't just hit share and move on, but actually show that you have a point of view. Really, I'm not suggesting don't use share at all, but at least in most cases, have a point of view. Use hashtags so your network starts to grow. Your number of followers start to grow. A lot of the people start to see your activities. Therefore, when they're looking for work, you will come up in their profiles the most. And if you can, get recommendations from your current employer. This is a tricky one. If you're working for someone and you ask for recommendations, the first thought that would go to their mind is like, are you leaving? Is that why you're asking? So you have to be very, open and transparent with them that you're not doing it for just leaving them, but you are thinking about a complete career shift, assuming you're thinking about leaving whatever you're doing and joining Salesforce. And if it's not your employer directly, you can ask peers. Peers is in fact a much better view because it kind of shows that your peers also value you, not just your leadership. So I say all of these things are, these 5 things with a thought that some of the basics, having a good photo, use headline section, don't waste it, making it catchy, customize your URLs, and using banner space, things that are very standard recommendations for LinkedIn, you guys already are aware of and you do them. Outside of those things, these 5 things are really, really important. There are a couple of things that I've seen people do and work really well. One of which, when I talk about, showcase your certifications, your projects, for example, those that are going down the development path, and if you've got your own Git libraries, share them. I have personally hired someone because they shared their Git, and I went, wow, okay, this guy's already put in this much effort, building code, building apps, and they're sharing all of that, where they can be accessed as by any of my guys that were interviewing. Then what else can they do when they're here? That shows discipline. That shows that you are hands-on. That shows that you are open, transparent, able to show everything that you have. It ticks a lot of boxes when you're looking at. So if you're going down the development path, having your own Git library and sharing it is really, 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 really cool. The last thing I would say is, if you have built a point of view and you're sharing something from, previous blog you read or something else, think about how you can write a blog about it. What is your point of view, and translate it into a blog. It all of a sudden starts to show that you're not just someone that reads something and share it and say how I really loved it, but you then have a point of view, not in the sense of 2 lines or 3 lines, but you've written a whole article of it. In a PhD, for example, when they do the thesis, that entire thesis is about their point of view. They take something and then they come back with their own point of view. Just a very similar thought process at a smaller, shorter scale as a blog. It doesn't have to be very big. Writing that would be really useful. Right, I have spent more time than I was going to on that slide, so just to hold my thought here. But this is the most important part of it. So I'll just talk about flows and I'll pause. I want to answer some of the questions here. Now, one of the questions, and this was a debate, like I was talking about a couple of weeks ago at MGSM. This was a debate about how to get most out of your day. A state of flow. This is not something I've created. A state of flow. If you guys look it up, you will see this. There's lots of places that you can read up about it. But there are 5 real things you can do. I'll start backwards. What you want to achieve is think of state of flow as when you are lost in an activity. You're doing something and you're completely lost in it. It triggers a sort of altered state of consciousness around you. You forget how long you've been doing some activity, and before you know it, you kind of, it's 2 hours gone. You finished the work. You really like what you've delivered or you created, and the sense of achievement kind of takes over you most of the day. I'm not sure how many of you have gone through that. It happens every now and again with people where you start doing something and you just get engrossed in it and you enjoy it so much that a couple of hours go past and you go, oh shit, it's been 2 hours. I thought it was only half an hour more. That is what's called state of flow. You can practice in your life to achieve state of flow on a constant basis, rather than just sporadically every now and again getting it. The very first thing you need to do is learn the balance of challenge and skill. If it is too challenging and doesn't match your skill, you won't achieve a state of flow. It has to be challenging enough that your skill can still deliver the outcome, but you will have to work, think with your mind, work hard towards it to achieve it. So challenge and skill, you need to balance. For me, for example, when I'm in a state of flow, if I'm doing any kind of analysis, if I'm looking at data and I'm doing any kind of analysis, time just flies by. I don't know where the time goes. And before I know it, I've done it and I've shared some of the stats. It's really, really amazing when you come out of it and you go, wow, I've achieved all of this in a couple of hours. I do turn my phone off completely when I am focusing on it, and I'll explain what I focus on and what trick that I use. No distractions. If I'm actually sitting down and I'm saying for 2 hours, nobody distract me, then most of my family members are aware not to distract me. I've actually locked myself in the study. Nobody comes to me while I'm doing that. It has to be for a specific goal. So I do that knowing that the end outcome I'm trying to achieve is X. And more importantly, no multitasking. I'm not looking at Slack at the same time. I'm not looking at any other piece of work. I'm simply looking at the analysis that I'm undertaking. And there is a technique that you can use, and I use it very often, which is you can only achieve the state of flow for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. After that, you start to get tired, right? Your brain is at an utmost maximum capacity. So in that 1.5 hours, focus, put an alarm for every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, focus for 20, 25 minutes perhaps. And after every 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break. But in that 20 minutes, you do nothing. You do only the task at hand, and that's it. You go away for 25 minutes, you come back, and and in that 5 minutes, you could be doing anything. You could be out for a walk, just pacing up and down. You could just be standing in the sun for 5 minutes, doesn't really matter. You come back and you focus again 20, 25 minutes on the task. And you do this 4 times. At the 4th time, you can take a break for half an hour. And what I find by doing this, I learned this a while back from someone similar to this session, and believe me, it works. It really works. In that 2 hours, I promise you, you will end up achieving almost 8 hours worth of productivity if you really focused and did this method, removed all the distractions from your life in that moment, turned off the phone, and pick things that really challenge you, but not really outside of your skill set, and you're not multitasking. This achieving that state of flow for a couple of hours every day will get you so productive that if you are in an organization and trying to deliver something and you did that with that mindset, others will never be able to compare. Because if there are folks that are genuinely talking every 5 to 10 minutes, if they are in an office every hour, somebody else is coming up there at the desk, and they'll just not be able to achieve that level of outcome that you can. And at the end of the day, you'll be measured on your outcome. I talked very briefly about being an all-rounder. We'll just quickly skip through this. So learn Salesforce technical skills, get hands-on, learn the business process and the art to elicit and document requirements. Be an advisor for your clients. I say this very humbly. You don't become an advisor on day one, but once you acquire some of the industry knowledge, some of the certifications in Salesforce, and get hands-on, become an advisor becomes relatively straightforward. Lead with value. If there is one thing you're going to take away from this, is this. If you start leading with value, that why you're creating that solution, and balance it with an ROI lens that says you will get this much return on the investment that I'm going to be making on your behalf, that is the most important trait. Most consultants, even today from the Salesforce lens, miss that really badly. They might look at it as, yes, you'll get benefit, you'll get operational efficiency, but nobody comes down to the dollars. And at the end of the day, it's the dollars that sing. Learn the art of testing. If you're a developer, nothing is worse than getting broken code and giving it to a tester, and the tester tests it and comes back. In a world where we're in a recession and you want to stand out, you want to be able to deliver something end to end. You can talk to your business, understand what they want, advise them on the solution, build the solution, test it, and deploy it. It does mean that you're doing all of this, therefore you can't do a lot of it. But in a recession type environment, when businesses are already slowing down and slowing their spend, nobody's going to measure you on, well, why are you not able to do 5 deployments in a day when there is only you? But if you're able to deliver one thing really well and then focus on the second thing and deliver that really well, end to end, without them having to hire 4 other people, you will absolutely stand out. Keep your knowledge up to date. Salesforce changes this. Salesforce is one of the most, I guess, one of those technologies that's changing the most. And understand the solution trends in the industry. That's very important. If there is a competitor using Salesforce in a specific way and there's a case study for it, take that and bring that as an advice to your business. Tell them what is possible and how some of the others are using it. Learn how to tell a story. It's an important aspect when you are working as a consultant. Being able to articulate what value business will get, how they can use the solution with less words, more detail. Practice your pitch. At the beginning, you will have to practice your pitch. As you start telling the story over time, it will become very standard for you. And get certified in business analyst, project management, and testing, things that I've talked about earlier. All right, very last thing, and this is the last slide which I wanted to talk about. That is all about integrating work-life. There is the notion of work-life balance. I'm not talking about that. In fact, I'm dead set against it. There is no such thing. Work-life balance by default, indicates that you're looking to switch off work and switch on home, and then switch on home and switch off home and switch on work. Don't do that. Try and merge the life. Try and bring them together. There are things that you can do both at the same time, multitask at the same time. Don't think of work and life as 2 separate things. If we are in a world where nobody will not just come to you after 6 o'clock because it's your time off. We are always connected. We always have a phone. Phone is your best friend. You should be able to administer your platform, your technology on your phone. So if you're out and about, support your business. Those type of things will help you become, I guess, an integral part of any business, right? They don't see you as somebody that will switch off. They know that when you have to be with family, then you can switch off work and go to family and do those events. But if you are at that event and their system came crashing down, or a user couldn't access, then you will be able to support them with your phone while you're there. That allows the business to be flexible with you. They start to see you as flexible, so they become flexible. So try and take some of these, I guess, tips and tricks to integrate work and life. But at the end, I guess the one key thing I would say is, first give and then take. Many a times I've been in businesses, I've had teams of hundreds of people in the past, where the first conversation starts with work-life balance. I can't do this and I can't do that. Don't do that. It feels already a negative connotation to a relationship that should be long-term. In a recession, the last thing you want to do is that. So don't go in it with an expectation of it. You can build your work life, integrated work life, regardless, but show the sense of work life integration to your employer, who in turn will just be flexible about you being with family and doing things that you need to do in work in your life. So a really important aspect. In fact, I remember reading a survey back in 2021, I think, that there was like almost 45-50% of the workers say that the flexible working hours have helped them become more productive. And this was a survey out of Gartner. So this isn't, most of the organizations already know that if you give them flexible working, then they will be more productive. And in turn, you just have to integrate your work and life in a way that it doesn't feel like they're two different things.